And those who are like yesterday, those who are from Somya Engineering, I request you to mention your name in the chat so that I can mark the attendance. So yeah, all right. So let's start with I share my screen. All right. So yesterday we looked at maps, filters. We looked at the time series data. We looked at how to create a dashboard. We also looked at how to create a story, and we also looked at animations. Now let's look at this third one. All right. In terms of, we also looked at table calculation for that matter. Let's look at this third one in terms of joins, maps, and pie charts. So I want you to open. Let's see. What is that? 1 second. Let's open this Excel Superstore US. Right, load that Excel file in your Tableau. Go to Excel, point to that folder, and select Superstore US. Everybody did this? This data is there in the zip folder that I sent yesterday. It should be there with. Did you get a file from Arpita? So the symbiosis student would have got an email from Arpita. If not, let me know. I'll send it across again. Ritvika, you got it or no? All right. So on the when you open this, right, this Excel has 3 tabs. There are 3 tabs over here: orders, returns, and users. All right. So if I click on orders, right, I will see this the data which is there. Now if I click on returns again, what it's going to do, it's going to join that data. It's going to tell me how do I want to join this information in terms of the relationship. If you're using an older version of Tableau, which is 2019, right, it's actually much easier to visualize that because here you are able to see those Venn diagrams. But we'll not get into this at this point of time. We will look at it later. So here I'm just going to use this information, and I want you to like yesterday, try and okay. So let's look at this information first. So there is information related to each customer over here, all right, in this data source, and there is also profit, discount, sales, and all that kind of stuff is there over here. And there is also a state over here. So I want you to find out which is the most profitable state. Can you do that? Find out which is the most profitable state. The task is to find the most profitable state. Anybody got that? Anybody got the answer? Which is the most profitable state? Okay, I got one answer. Anybody else got an answer? California. Yes, that is correct. The answer is California. Did everybody get this answer? Anybody facing any issue? All right. Now, like yesterday, I want you to add another map in this map itself. Split this and add the sales. So to add the sales, you need to do something. What do you need to do? Press Control and drag the latitude on the right. The second one, I'm going to add sales. Okay, make it dual axis. And for profitability, right, I'm going to convert profitability into a pie. That is the first one. Anybody facing any specific issues? Are you able to get this? We did this yesterday, not on this data or something else. So are you able to, did you get this particular graph? Any questions, anybody? Have you been able to get this? Can you let me know? Okay, so people who have just joined in, right? We are using the Superstore Superstore US data set that is there in the the data which I sent, the Tableau data sets for Tableau, and in that the third number 3 folder, joins, maps, and pie chart. So here there is a folder called Superstore US, and we are using the orders data set in this. And we have first found out which state is the most profitable. So most of you got the answer as California. Then what I want you guys to do is, like yesterday, create a dual axis map, and in one of them should be profit, the other should be sales in terms of sales and profit. So the profit is as a pie chart.
Hello.
Hello, yeah.
Sorry, sir. Sir, yesterday I was unable to follow you because of my network issue. So today I opened this Excel, this data set, and I pulled the order one. And sir, can you please explain in a minute that what do we have to do to keep myself in pace?
Yeah, one second. Let me just show everyone what I've done. So we have to create a graph for, we have to find out which state is the most profitable. So the first thing I do is I take the state, I double click on the state. I should be getting these dots as maps. All right. Then I drag profit onto color. So I get this map which tells me which is the most profitable state and which is the least profitable state. So there you will find North Carolina the least profitable and Montana second least profitable. The most profitable is California. Okay. So you have this view. Now what I want to also do is, like yesterday we created dual axis map. I want to create a dual axis map with one of them having sales, the other one having profit. So I press Control, click on latitude, drag it on the right. I will get another map like this. So for one of them, I need to change that profit to sales. So I have something like this. If I want, I can change the color. Instead of this, I can use something else. Let's say use this. Okay. And if I convert this, then I click on the second latitude, I can convert it into a dual axis map. Okay. So I'll see both of that information. I can change the opacity if I want to. So it makes it more visually appealing. The other thing I can do, I change the for profit for the, I change that to a pie. Okay, so it makes it, I can see the values like this instead of trying to interpret the dual colors. And I can change the size from here. And what I did one more thing today was I added product category onto color for the pie. So I see a breakup in terms of the product category. Okay, so here you have, just one second. Let's see, I put it on the right. Okay. When I put it on the right, I'm able to actually see the values. If it was on the left, I'm not able to, I'm seeing maximum, I'm not seeing this breakup of the pie chart. So I put that on the right. So now I'm seeing the pie chart and I'm able to see the differences in terms of the profit margin. And I can put profit margin on label.
Sir,
Yes.
So in my tableau, double clicking on state or province is showing the whole world map and not just the US map. It's not.
Yes, sir. Same.
Can you show me, share your screen? You might
Okay,
be
so
getting a error on the right hand side bottom. So I'm stopping my this.
So did you apply any filters for the state?
Nothing. I'll tell you what the error is. You are able to share your screen? Umang, that was right.
Okay, sir.
so it's showing disabled by the host.
Can you try now?
It's still showing host disabled participant screen sharing.
So I made you co-host, so try now. Umang, right?
No, the path.
Yeah, I did that. See on the right, right? 49 unknown. Click on that. Bottom. Edit
Okay.
locations. You should select USA, the country. It's showing India by default because you've by default it'll take the location possibly of United States. Right? United States. Yeah. Okay. Got it?
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you, sir.
Anybody else facing a specific issue? Are you able to get this particular graph that I just showed? Are you able to get this graph?
So can you repeat how you got the pie charts?
Yes. One second. You got the dual maps or no?
Yes, sir. I got the dual maps.
So for one of them, right? Let's say I'm taking this is sales. Okay, let's say I take it for sales only. I over here on the second latitude, click on mark type and convert that into pi. And I can increase the size in here. Everybody got till here? Everybody got a circle like this? Anybody facing any issue? Any questions, guys? Can you let me know on the chat if you got this or not? Person got it? Okay. So those who have got till here, right? I know few of you have got till here. So once you have this pie chart, let's say I want to see this breakup, right? So this is for sales, right? The pie chart is of sales or profit, whatever you have taken. I want to see the breakup by product category. So if I look at the data source, right? Product category is your office supplies, furniture, or technology. I think those are the three things which are there. So I want to see that breakup. So what I can do instead of the sales, I can take product category and drop it into color. So I see this graph. I see the breakup in terms of those values. But I want to see those value also. As of now, I'm just seeing technology and the state. So in order to get that sales, I drop that sales into detail. Once when I do that, I will see the sales also for that particular pie. And in the other one, if I want to look at overall sales, I can again drop that over there. So I'll get sales and profit both. 288, 311. So if I look at this, 108, 81, and 98. So that will be the total will be 288. Anybody get facing any specific issues? You're till here? Anybody came till here? Any questions till now? So if you've all got this, we can move to the other aspect. So I just wanted to show how you can break up this pie. You can try this edit calculation in terms of the percentage of total. The only thing what is important is how do you kind of use that information, because you have so many fields. Many a times you'll get a percentage, you'll not be able to make that out. So it is important in terms of what fields are you choosing when you are creating, when I edit this, right? When I edit the table calculation, what fields am I choosing over here? That makes sense. So if I, let's say I'll just try this one and I get that value. So I'm getting 37%, 28%, and 34%. Right, so earlier this percentage which I had seen was on state and province. So this, when I look at this percentage in this pie, ideally I would want to say I'm seeing 1.2%, 0.32%, and 0.64%. It doesn't tie up to 100%, especially for this pie. So I need to go into this, edit the table calculation and change this dimension. I want to see the percentage by product category. Okay. So when I do that, now I'm getting 2.4, 70 point this, 26. So this ties up to 100%. Earlier it was not tying up to 100%. Any questions till now? Understood what I said about this percentage? Because when I tried, and let me repeat this again, the percentage thing. So we have got uh, the sales, right? We got the sales. We got the sales. When I do a quick table calculation and I add percentage of total, I see these percentages: 16%, 13%, 14%, and this. Right? So this doesn't tie to 100%. So in order to change that, you click on this edit table calculation. Instead of state and province, just choose product category. And when you do that, and now if I check the percentage, right, it will show me 37%, 28%, and 34%. So that adds up to 100%. So it is important. So it's important to keep that in mind. Okay. So let's look at something else. Let's look at what have we done till now. So we looked at this map and a pie chart. Let me explain I think we had done this earlier. I think we had covered this in the lecture because we had done SQL a lot in detail. But let me just cover this aspect a little bit more again. So if I have two tables, A and B, I have data of customers in table A and I have data of employees in table B. So you can consider, for people who don't understand what is a table, it's more like an Excel sheet. One sheet is one table, right? The other sheet is another table. So if I ask you a question, which are the employees which are my customers as well? Can you tell me which are the employees which are our customers as well? You can unmute or you can just mention that in the chat. All right, Jack and Susan, very good. So that is correct, right? So Jack is an employee as well as a customer. So what happens is, what we do is, this is something which we call as a inner join. So I want only those data which match. Alright, I want data of those, or rather I want only those records which match in both the tables. So in terms of a Venn diagram, right, that is what you call as a inner join. Now, if I want to keep all these records on the left, and if there is any matching record on the right, I want to keep that. That is where I have a left outer join. Okay. So if I look at this Venn diagram, I am taking all the records of table A. If there is a match, I keep only those records of table B. For the remaining, the records become blank. This is how my output is in terms of a left outer join. Similarly, when you have a right outer join, I am going to keep all the records of the right hand side and only those records which match on the left hand side with the left table. So over here, this is what you have, a right outer join. I am getting the data for Jack from the customer table. I am getting the data for Susan from the customer table. I am not getting any data for John and Mary from the customer table. So I will not have any data from the left hand side for these two employees. So this is how my data will look like in terms of the customer, gender and age. Okay. I'm getting the data for John. I'm not getting any data for John and Mary. When I have a full outer join, what I'm going to do is I will keep I will keep all records of table A and table B. Okay. So what it means is I am going to keep the records, these two match, I am going to keep those. So here I have records like this, in the sense Adam does not have any record on the right hand side. So I will have Adam's record and no data on the right hand side. I have data of Jack both sides. So I will have the data of Jack. For Nick, there is no data on the right. For John and Mary, there is no data on the left. So this is how the table will look like. You know, this is a full outer join. So you can just for representation purpose, in terms of how the data actually what happens in terms of a join. This is what is called as an inner join. This is what we saw, where you're keeping only records which are matching. On the left, you keep all data of the left hand side and whatever is matching from the right hand side. In the right outer join, you keep records which are matching. You keep all the records of the right hand side and only record additionally whichever records are matching from the left hand side. And in a full outer join, you keep all records irrespective of whether they match or not. Any questions? Okay. All right. So now let's look at another example in terms of duplicate joins. Okay, there can be duplicates in joins also. So if I have this date table, I have order, I have table A which has orders information by region, and table B which has orders information based on the items. So what were the items for order number 1? So when you look at this order in region north, it is matching with these two orders, the first two. So when I look at this, right, like I said, this is an inner, if I have an inner join, order number 001 is matching with these two. So in my output, I will have two records like this. The left hand side will get repeated twice. Same way for 002, it is matching with 1. So I'll have only one record like this. For 001, I'll have two records. 004, there is no record which is matching. For 003, there is three records. Okay, so I'll have in total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll have 6 rows in my output. There's nothing matching for 004. So this is how. So basically, the left hand side is got duplicated over here. So that is what happens. That is what is called as duplicates in terms of joins. I can join on multiple fields also. Now let's say if I have this information, if I have this table wherein I have a store, the North store, and if I'm going to match only on the order number, right? Now look at this 001 order is matching to 003 or records over here. But if I look at it closely, right, and if I look at the sales, so I have 999, 49, and 97. So ultimately, I'll have 1100, 1147 or something, right? 1147 or 45. That will be the sales, but that sales is actually incorrect because I've added $97 additionally. Because this store, the first record is of the North store, but the last record in the right hand side is of the South store. So ultimately, what will happen is the data for the North store for order number 1 and the data for the South store order number 1 will be shown as incorrect. So you'll be seeing the sales incorrectly. So here you have how the data is matched, and this is what you see. Okay, after I have done the join. So again, this is, like I said, this is incorrect because I have data of the South store and North store matching up. So what you need to do is you need to join on two records. You need to join on the store as well as the order number. Okay, so that is where you have a and over here. So once you do that, you can match those two. Okay, so here you have only two records for North, one record and for order number 1, then one record for North and order number 2, and then for South. Okay. So there is another concept which I'll explain later in terms of the blending. We'll come back to that later. So when I look at this side, earlier we were talking about in this sheet itself, when I click on returns, it is joining on order ID and order returns. Because in your order ID table, there is only order ID over here. So it is automatically joining this. So if you have an older version of Tableau, you will see that symbol over here. You will see inner join, outer join, what you want to do, right? You will see that data. So that is what you get in terms of sign. When you open the sheet now, you will see orders over here and returns. Okay, I'm seeing it in this way. Some of you might see it at the top. Okay, some of you might see it at the top depending on how the data has been loaded. I am seeing the returns fields over here, order ID and the orders table over here. So if I want to find out which orders were returned, right, I can actually look at this. Just click on this. These were the orders which were returned. And if I want to look at the sales of that, I will get that value. I should get that value. If I'm not, sorry, let's look at something else. Order. Yes, this is the count of the order. So I'm getting information in terms of which orders were there. in the orders table. So here where I see wherever is null, right? I am not, there is no record of that data in the orders table, but there is a return on that. And if I click on this sales information, I will know the value of that particular order. One second. Let me sort this. Yep. Yeah, so you see this value. Make sense? You can even add a, I don't know, look at it. So a simple table like this will suffice. And I can actually add a filter on this order ID. And I'm going to remove null. So I get only those records over here in the top at least, which are matching. Any questions, guys? Any questions? You understood what I did or no? Okay. Let's move to another aspect in terms of, so I'm going to take the orders of the order table. Okay. So I have this total value. Okay. And I want to see orders by, so I'm sure you know what is a histogram in terms of, I'm not sure if you have seen a histogram. It's primarily you have, mostly it's based on age or a particular group, right? Between 0 to 5, then 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 15. Like that, you have that data. Like that, you have information which is broken up into small, small groups. And what you create is a histogram. All right. So here, what we have to do is we have to look at, I want to try and break this information in these 1952 orders in terms of which are 0 to 4, 4 to 10, like that. Okay, these are the order counts. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, for this I am going to create a, right click this. Okay, not for this. I'm going to see the, is that, sorry guys. Second, let me just open it from here. Yes, quantity. Actually, I wanted to see this quantity order. Yes. This quantity ordered I wanted to see. My bad, I was looking at the other one. So in this quantity ordered, I want to see how many people have ordered. Like, it's as good as seeing on Amazon, right? You want to order something which is, you order 5 items, somebody else order 6 items. So you want to see that breakup. So this quantity ordered, I want to break it up into small groups. So what I do, I right click on this quantity ordered and I create something which is called as bins. Right? So right click on quantity order and create a bin. So I'll say quantity bin, and the size of the bin I'll make it 5. Okay, so it'll be 0 to 5, 6 to 10, like that. It'll go on shifting. When I do that, I get a quantity bin. So when I drop this in the columns, I see the breakup of orders in that sense. So 0 to 5, 0 to 4, and 5 to 10, like that. It is showing me all those orders which are there in terms of how what is the quantity ordered by people. You know, there are some people who ordered 116 items. Okay, so this is what is a bin. But now I might, before I get into that, so any questions till now? Can you try this before I move into the next aspect of this? What I did was I looked at what I did. I took right click on quantity order, create a bin, and I rename that quantity bin order, and I made it 5. So I get a quantity bin over here. I put that into rows. Put it over here, put it here. And I can put the orders, total orders like this. So I get those orders. This is,
So
yes.
in my orders table, there is no such thing as orders count for some reason.
Can you show your screen?
Sure. So I got this by double clicking on quantity ordered and then putting
It'll be down in
creating
the
bins.
measure. It'll be in the measure down. Notice
It's not there, sir. The measures, there's nothing down. Like there's no bars,
number of
moving bar over
records.
here.
Number of records. This is your
Okay.
older version, no? That is why it
Okay.
is showing it that way.
Okay.
So
Sir.
here,
Thank
if
you.
you see, right, you have that word dimension and measures. In the latest version, I don't see that word dimension and measures. I can distinguish between the blue color and the green color.
Okay,
So
sir.
blue color is dimension, green color is the measure.
Thank you, sir.
So let's say now I want to change this, right? Let's say I want to, if I want to change the bin, right, what I'll have to do is I'll have to edit this and manually go and change this. Okay, but I don't want to do it this way. So what I do is I create a parameter. I right click on that field and I create a parameter. So I'll have quantity parameter. When I have that quantity parameter, I'll see something like this. I mean, I can just show that. So here also, right, the current value, minimum value 1, maximum value 167. These are all the elements which are there in this. I right click this parameter and I show parameter. When I see this, right, I see a value which is shifting from 1 to 167. All right, it's like a slider, but nothing is happening over here. So in order to make that change, what I do in this quantity bin that I created, right, I right click that quantity bin, edit it, and instead of the size of the bin, I choose the quantity parameter that I created. And when I click this OK, right, I can now select this dynamically. I can see this value shifting dynamically. Any questions, guys? Were you able to get this?
So could you repeat how you inserted the quantity parameter in the bin?
Yes. So you were able to see the parameter, right? You did show parameter.
Yes, sir.
Okay, one second. So right click on this, the bin that you created, click on edit. So in this size of bins, you'll see a drop down and you choose the parameter that you created. And press OK. So now when you move the slider, the graph will change.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Right? Anybody else has any other question? Okay, let's go back to the presentation. What is there in that? Okay, let's look at your. We saw this joins, maps, pie chart, table calculation parameter, right? Let's look at forecasting. Okay, so in the data set, yeah, in others, right? In the folder others, there is a file called long-term unemployment statistics. Let's open that. Load that file in Tableau. This is data for your unemployment statistics, by the way. So you have to choose the main tab which is there over here. So there's one more thing in Tableau, right? When I select two columns like this, right? I can actually select a couple of columns and you will see this option for pivot. Like in what this does, it just, so if I click on this pivot, right, it will shift the fields like this. Instead of what it was earlier, I have unemployed period and unemployed. They kind of transpose that data. So if you have data sometimes, right, which you need to transpose, you can use that option of pivot in Tableau, but I'm not going to use that now because we don't need to do that. So here you have this information, you have this data. Okay. I'm going to open a new sheet. So you notice when I open two files, I see each of them as different databases, right? When I click on each of those databases, I can actually I can load multiple files in one Tableau workbook itself, but it's a good practice to keep them separate. But as of now, I've just loaded them into this same workbook. So here I have data related to the date, all right, and the total number of unemployed. That is the main record that we have. Okay, so I want you to create a, so let's say if I look at this is the total number of unemployed by year. So again, if I click on this, I can create it into this graph. And if I change it into the day, I will get data like this. Everybody got this? So there are a lot of things you can do in this. You can, if I click on gender, I will get data by gender. If I click on age, and I'll get data by age. Okay, I want to do it this way. If I click on, before I click on gender, I can click on age. So I have these groups. Okay, I have this data by this particular group. So I can even change this path if I want to, the way I want to look at it, right? If I want to look at it dash, if I want to look at a different kind of a line. So that is how it shows. I can add a filter on gender. Okay. To show a filter, you need to click on this filter and show filter. So when you do that, on the right hand side, you will see this filter option. You can change this filter as a multiple value drop down. If you click on this right hand side, right, you click on this small arrow on the right, you can change this filter in terms of a multiple value drop down or a single value filter, right? Or if I can just keep it as multiple value list over here. So if I change this, this data will show it only for men and women. Now I can change this as a shape also if I want to. And I want it in this way. I want the shapes in this way. I can put, let's say, gender into color and age into shape. So now I have got that data. I have broken up that data in terms of age and gender. So if I click on this, I can see only, so there are two ways of filtering this, all right? So what I did was, one is this filter, other is, since I have put that gender onto color, I can click on this color, men or women. I can see the graph highlighted only for men or women. And that is happening because in this gender, right, there is this option over here for highlighting. If I click on this option, right, the highlighting option will not happen. So this option needs to be highlighted, clicked rather. You understood how I got this, or was I too fast? Rather than doing it this way, we can actually do it. One second. The easier way to do it would be, I take multiple graphs of age, gender into color. Yes, we'll put gender onto color. We'll convert this into a shape and I put age into color, age into shape. You get the same thing. So I just wanted to show this. I'm not sure if you understood this or not. If you're not, just can you let me know on the chat if I should repeat it. I just tried. So to change that shape, right? It was automatic earlier. Instead of this line, I can have this as a circle, shape, square. There are multiple options over here. I can even have a Gantt bar, but I tried this shape option over here just to show the marks in which you can use that. And the age can be on the shape. It will have a different. Yeah. So if I highlight this over here, right, I can compare the men and women for a particular age group. Any questions, guys? Can you let me know in the chat if you understood this or not? All right.
So, is there
Yeah.
any way that we only get to see men of 55 to 64 years? Can we apply them both? It's not working for both of them. It's just taking one of them in consideration.
For that, we'll add a filter over here. Then gender, apply, show filter for men 65 years. Got it?
So we'll have to apply a filter for that.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. So now let's try and just use that, not the dashboard. Sorry, I want a dashboard. A sheet. I'll add a new sheet. I'm just going to draw the discount total unemployed by day. Sorry, what is this? This line graph is there and by day. Okay, so I have this graph. Till now we have looked at we looked at this data option over here. On the top right, there is an option called analytics over here. In this analytics, you have a lot of options over here. Okay, what you need to do, I want to create a forecast for this. So in terms of forecast, right, when I'm looking at forecasting, there are 4 specific aspects in a forecast. One is a trend line, which is a regression line. So I'm not sure if you've studied regression till now, but its regression is primarily just a relationship between 2 variables, right, A and B. And I'll just show a quick example in Excel in some time. So here you have this regression, this line. And so the first point which I mentioned was for forecasting, one of the elements is your regression line. The second parameter which is there is your seasonal information. So when I look at it from a seasonal perspective, right, you will have, let's look at sales, right? When you look at sales of a particular item, let's say you're looking at shoes, the sales of rainy shoes will probably increase in the month of May and June because that's where people start preparing for that. Or even if I look at umbrellas, right, the sales of umbrella is pretty much high between June to September in India. So that is a seasonal variance which is there. So you have a trend line. On top of that, you have a seasonal variance. Along with that, you also have your product life cycle. So in that sense, a shoe, right, when you're buying a particular shoe, you might not get that shoe for after 2 years. You might not get that same shoe because there is a product life cycle. Some of those shoes are not manufactured. So just look at the old format of shoes, right? You don't find people wearing those olden format of shoes which are probably 100 years old because there's a product life cycle. Obviously that is very rare. But I'm not talking about 100 years, but it's more in terms of 2 to 3 years. There is a cycle of one particular product. So what you'll have a trend line. On top of that, you have your seasonal variance. Then you have your product life cycle, and finally there is some randomness when you're trying to create a forecast. So Tableau, to a certain extent, gives you that information. So I look at this information in terms of the forecast. I can click on this forecast and just drag it on the right. Okay, so when what happened? Why am I not seeing that forecast? No forecast. There are too many missing values. Okay, let's change this to a month. So when I change it to month, I am getting that forecast for that particular month. So the next month, because by day it was not giving me, because it was not, there was a lot of missing information in that. Even in this, I am getting an error. There are too many missing values. So I change that to, and if I look at it by year, I can get that also. But it's a month is probably the best option. So what I did was, I can just remove this from here. So it makes it continuous. If I want to remove that forecast, I can rather format this. No, not format. What do I want to do? So I'm getting the forecast for that particular month, right? I'm getting the unemployed numbers by month. And this is the confidence level, like what confidence, if I want to see the, what is the forecast, right? I want to describe the forecast. So it's telling me the seasonal effect is none. The content, it's primarily based on the trend line. Okay, and the quality is poor. So that I said, there are seasonal pattern in none, because they were not able to find any seasonal pattern. And you look at the model, what it's used, there are a lot of different models, the smoothing and everything. I'm not getting into that, but this gives you information in terms of what kind of forecasting Tableau is capable of. Ideally, you would want to use something much better than this, but this gives you a very basic level of forecasting. Any question? You understood what I've done? If you want this, line becomes continuous. You don't need to, I mean, if I remove the marks over here, right, the line becomes continuous. So you describe, right click on the line, the forecast line, click on forecast, you see describe forecast. If it's an older version, you might seeing it somewhere else. Did you get that? You just have to right click, you will see that option over there in forecast. This is forecasting. Let's look at a trend line. So over here, let's look at that orders and Superstore US. In this orders and Superstore US, I take profit on one side, sales on the other. I get a particular dot like this. I'm using that Superstore US file, and I'm going to show you how to draw a trend line over here. So we want to draw a scatter plot. So in order to draw a scatter plot, we need data for two variables. So I have plotted profit and sales, but what I'm getting is sum of profit and sum of sales. So I don't want to aggregate this. I want to remove the aggregates. When I look at this analysis, click on aggregate measure. It's already tick mark. I want to remove the tick mark. So just click on that and you will see this. and rather than doing it profit and sales, I have to do it this way so that it becomes easier to visualize. So this is a scatter plot. Everybody got till here? Anybody who's facing any issue with this?
So how did you shift the plot to the upper side, the scatter plot?
Over here, right? There is this option below this map to swap. Just click on that, it will swap the variables.
Okay, sir, got it.
So now when you go to analytics, right? When you go to analytics, you see this trend line. Click on that trend line, you'll see multiple options: linear, logarithmic, exponential, polynomial, power, and drag it on any one of them. You will see a trend line coming up like this. And when you click on that line, right, you can just look at the equation that has been created and you look at R square, right? R square is indicating that this is not really a good fit. Okay, it's obviously nowhere near a good fit. It's like 0.13. It should be less than, it should be near 1 in terms of the R square value for the line to be a good fit. But I just wanted to showcase how, like in Excel, right? If I plot the same thing in Excel, I will get the same. Let me open that. I'm going to take the same thing. What do we have? Sales. Profit. So I'm going to do insert scatter plot. So I see the same graph over here, like which is there in Tableau. I right click over here, add trend line. So I see this linear line, and here also I can show the equation, show the R square value. So you notice this value should come same. So 0.1624 minus 4.5.278. So if I look at it in Tableau, I'm getting the same 162373, right? It rounded off to 0.1624 plus minus 45.278. So that's what I'm getting over here also, minus 45.278. And the R square value is 0.132684. So here also I'm getting the same 0.1327. So it is giving me the same output, but I'm getting in Excel. I'm getting the same thing here as well in terms of the trend line. Understood? This is how I can create a trend line. I can change it to logarithmic. I can change it to exponential. Right, so when I change it to exponential, polynomial, and power. So like this, I can try all of those options over here. All right, make sense? I can even draw an average line if I want to. If I want to draw a constant, I can do that in terms of the sales. Any questions, guys, till here? Okay, let's look at something called as, so we looked at the forecasting aspect, we look at trend lines, and now we look at something called as clustering. All right. So in clustering, so I'm not sure if you heard what is clustering. So ideally, what happens is, just give me a second. I'm just going to pause the sharing for a second. All right, so I'm just going to talk about one little concept. So I'm not sure if you've heard of supervised learning, unsupervised learning, different types of machine learning, right? You have three different types of machine learning. You have supervised learning, you have unsupervised learning, and then you have reinforcement learning. So when I'm looking at supervised learning, right, what you have is, you have been, let's say if I look at this, right, what does this image tell you? Can you tell me what this image is giving you in terms of the what are all the fruits which you see in this image? I know you know the answer, but you can just type that, because that is the gist of how do you really, how does the machine really interpret this. So if you can just tell me that, what all do you see? Yes, the machine will learn to identify different fruits if we train it. Yes. So the way it works, right? The way it works is when I have these fruits, right? As a kid, you were shown a book of images. You know, whenever you're taught ABCD, or whenever you're taught that this is an apple, right? How do you identify? You are being trained as a kid that this is an apple, this is a grape, this is an orange, this is a pear, and this is a banana. So you were being trained as a kid. That is what a machine also needs to be done. For a machine also is supposed to happen. So here what you have is, you have different fruits. You have apple, pear, grapes, banana, and orange. That is what you have been taught also. And the way you have been taught is, when you look at this, right, you can just look at it and say that this is an apple because it is red colored and there is a dip at the bottom. This is green colored, so this is a pear. This is orange colored, so it is an orange. This is a banana. This is green, but it is smaller as compared to a pear, which is why it is a grape. So that is what is called as, you're making the machine learn. That is what you are being also been taught in terms of learning a specific language or any other element that you're doing, right? Somebody is giving you that training, but beyond that, you will learn something on your own. You will interpret that and analyze that in the future, right? Once you've done that, you've done everything, you've done, completed your learning, right? That's where you'll go into the real world and understand or apply whatever learning you have made. So what happens is, what is this example is in terms of is of classification, right? You are telling that this is a, you have trained the model in terms of all these elements, all these images, which is why it is telling you it is a apple or a banana or a mango or whatever that may be, right? So you have trained that model and ultimately you get that output that 90% chance this is an apple, 70% chance this is a grape, or whatever that number may be. So there are different examples of classification. What I wanted to talk about was primarily the example of unsupervised learning. When you're looking at unsupervised learning, right? When I have data like this, I have data something like this. I have all these images of Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, Daffy Duck, Bugs Bunny, right? You have all those different examples. So when you don't have those labels, here in this we had labeled information. This is what you call labeled information because that is what you were taught. That is what you were given in terms of the labels. So when you have this information over here, you do not have those labels. That is what is called unsupervised learning. Based on the similarity of those characteristics, these images are grouped together. So this is a duck, this is a duck, this is a duck, based on the beak and everything, right? You are able to tell that this is a duck, which is where you are able to group all of this together as unsupervised learning. So this is what happens whenever you log in for the first time in Amazon. Whenever you log in, right, what happens is Amazon does not know your preferences of sales or anything. So what they do is they put you in a similar bucket that, okay, you are 25 years of age, you are from Mumbai, you are from India, whatever that information you might have provided them, right? They put you in that same bucket that people who are in this particular age group probably buy XYZ item, right? So that is what is called as unsupervised learning. And once they have more information about you, they know your preferences, it becomes supervised learning. Okay, so that is what I wanted to show in terms of, this is called as clustering. This was called as classification. Okay, wherein you have this labeled information, you are classifying that data and classifying the images, and over here you are going to be clustering those images. Okay, so when I look at the topic which we have now, we have a data which is related to, if I go back to this folder of iris data analysis, I have data related to iris data analysis. So this is a flower. Okay, these are flowers, these are species of flowers, and these are species in terms of the name of the flower is given: Setosa, Virginicea, versicolor. Okay, Virginicea. Okay, so these are these 3 or 4 flowers. So if I want to do this, right, if I want to classify or cluster or classify all of this information, right, I have labeled information for some of them. For some of them I do not have a label, so I can actually put that into a particular bucket based on the particular. So there is a mathematical calculation which goes around behind it. You find out the Euclidean distance when you have that labeled information, and find out where this point is in terms of. So let me just show that to you. Let me just go to Tableau. I am going to add another data source in terms of the iris sheet. So I have this data sheet for iris. Okay, it's not loading. Why is it not loading? There's some error. Let me try and open a new one. So till that time, can you load that iris sheet into your Tableau workbook? Yeah, so I see that. I see the data. So again, over here, I'm going to plot a scatter plot. I'm going to take length, width. I get just 1 point. To change that, I go to analysis, remove the aggregate measures. If I swap it, I swapped it, I put width in columns and rows in length. I want only this particular graph, okay, only this particular size. So what I do, I double click on the sepal width, and I can have a fixed range. So instead of starting from 0, I start from 2. When I do that, this shifts to the left. Same way on the length, I want to start from 4, let's say. So here I fixed, start from 4, and I get something like this. Now let's say I put the species onto color. So when I look at this, right, I can make out the species. There are 3 different species. In terms of, this is one, Virginicea. There is one outlier over here. Over here you see all of the ones in red is versicolor. Then you see Setosa, right? So this is what is called as, in terms of, now I have a new point over here, which is null over here, right? So what I have to do in terms of classification, in terms of core machine learning, I need to find out if this point, how near is this point to any of these, all of these points practically, right? But I can look at only 3 points. So if I look at it, right, I can easily make out that this point is near to this point is near to this, then this probably point is near to this point. But since it is more nearer to all of these points over here, it can be classified as Setosa. Make sense? Mathematically, you look at the distance between these two, that is called as the Euclidean distance. Mathematically, you can calculate that. But just looking at it, I can make that out in terms of how it is calculated, in terms of how I can just look at it and tell that, okay, this is probably part of this particular group because it looks nearer to it. Any questions till now? Make sense? All right, no questions. I'm assuming you all got it. So now let's go into let's try and create, I'm going to just duplicate this sheet. And this is classification. I'm going to create a cluster. So now I have this, I'm going to remove this color from here. So I have these plots. I go to analytics and I drag cluster on this graph. And I see it's giving me automatically 6 clusters, but I don't want 6, I want only 3. When I click on 3, I see those 3 clusters. To compare, right? To compare, I will just choose the same color for this is orange. Okay. This is red, which is fine. And this is blue. So I'm going to just change those 2 colors which I have in terms of editing the color. So cluster 1, I'm going to put orange. Cluster 2, I'm going to put, no, sorry. Cancel 1 minute. Yeah, cluster 1, orange. And I need to change this to yes. So now if I compare these two, right? I have compared these two. You can notice these 3 are correct in terms of the clustering, because these 3 have been correctly clustered. These 2 have been incorrectly clustered over here. These 3, which I see over here, have been correctly clustered. Even this has been correctly clustered. This has been incorrectly clustered because it's an outlier. When you look at the classification, right, this point is an outlier. In the clustering, it is being shown as the cluster, the third cluster. This point, it is showing as orange. Ideally, this should also show as orange. I'm not sure why it's showing it as blue. I mean, over here in terms of the red, it's probably somehow it's grouping it over here, but ideally it should be grouped over here. So that's how clustering works in Tableau. Any questions? You can do this in Python or any other analytical model, right? You can use it if you know Python and R. You can do that analytics over there, but practically Tableau gives you that option in terms of doing that clustering.
Sir, what was the significant difference between clustering and classification?
See here, I don't have that labeled information. In terms of here, right, in classification, I have the color, I have that information that I know this is a versicolor. This is versicolor. I know this is setosa. I know this is virginica. In clustering, I don't have that information. So based on that similarity and where those points are plotted, right, the model, the algorithm is automatically grouping them into those values. So in a classroom, right, when you look at, you have 50 students in a classroom, and normally when a teacher is probably speaking or teaching, and there are a lot of people talking to each other, you can actually make out those groups. You can actually make out 5 people talking on this side, 5 people talking on the other side. It need not be that you are part of that same group, right? But from the professor's perspective, he doesn't have information whether you are part of the same group or not, and he is just clustering you based on the way you're seated or based on the way you're interacting with each other. He's just clustering you based on his knowledge, but in actual, you know, you are part of which group, because that is, I mean, in literal sense, that is how you would look at classification and clustering. That you have, in classification, you have labeled information, you have data that this is group A, this is group B, this is group C. In clustering, you don't have that information, you have to group it yourself logically. Make sense? So when I move this, right, let's say I remove the cluster. So when you remove, and I drag the cluster over here, right, it tells me information related to, it asks me this question, number of clusters over here. So I put 3 over here. Make sense? How to remove OKS? So when I plotted this, I get a dot. I get these columns, right? Go to analysis, click on aggregate measures. So it will remove those values. The other way, I think there is another way also. Read that. Let's see this works. Work? No, it doesn't work that way. Just click on this aggregate measures. Any questions, guys, till now?
So the last question, like how do you did scaling of x-axis and y-axis?
Yes, double click on this. Double click on the axis. You'll see a pop-up coming up. In that, click on fixed, and you can choose the way you want it. Right? I want it to start from 2. Right, start from 2. This I wanted to start from 4. So again, double click that. Click on fixed, and this is 4. Make sense? I can even change it to 4.5. Or 5 for that matter. Make sense? Got it? And then if I put the color, this is one color, then you get it pretty easily. Remove this color, go to analytics, drop cluster, 3. Make sense, guys? So if anybody from Somya Engineering, if you did not ping your name in the beginning, just do that now so that I can mark your attendance accordingly. Okay. So you've done quite a lot of stuff. So we'll have one small session next week also on Tableau, and we'll also talk about VBA next week. All right, Visual Basic for Application. We will talk about that, and I will share data for your final group projects, right? I'll share that, and once you're ready with that, we can have a session around that, the final session. Okay. Any questions, guys? Any questions? कोई विशेष टिप्पणी? Or are we good for now? Yes, you'll, since it's Tableau public, you'll have to create your ID and it will get saved online. Data will get saved online. So if I save this, right, if I save my data over here, it saves it to Tableau public. You can even share the link with anybody if you want to show it. So here I have this data. I'm just going to go and save it online. It's taking a little time because that's what it does.
And so, if we want to save our dashboard in a PDF format or JPG, so it is the a simple like we do in Word or everything, or is it a bit different in Tableau?
No, in terms of you want to save this, actually in the desktop version, you'll have better option, not in Tableau, this version. Public, I don't think it has that good an option to export that. Otherwise, the story is the best. The best thing is to showcase this, the link that comes up here I'll just show you. This link comes up, an online link, which you can share with anybody for that matter. So some of these are also downloadable. You can download this and load it into your own workbook if you want to. Right. So here I can actually share this with anybody. If I want to look at the different tabs at the bottom, I see sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. I click on sheet 2. We'll go to sheet 2. So Tableau has their own server. So the question is, sir, can we integrate Tableau in websites? Tableau has their own server which you can integrate. This is Tableau public. It does not have the option of doing that. Normally in a server, right, Tableau, you can publish your all these on a particular local server. Like over here, you can publish this. It comes on a specific website of Tableau public. So I have not tried to integrate this in a specific website, but it is possible. You need a hosting server. So this is all the graphs we created like this. So you can create sheet 1 also. This is what we had created earlier. Right? So you can analyze this, you can look at that, all that information it gives you. Whatever we created. You can actually use this as your presentation, you know. Full screen. It goes into full screen also. Make sense? And you can create a story which can be shown over here. Published, the story will also be seen over here. Any other questions, guys? Okay, guys. So for the engineering folks, we'll meet again next week, and I'll keep you posted on the timelines. All right, and I'll share a data for your analysis, which will be your final assignment. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.